Recently, I've been revisiting The Division 2, and man, it has really reignited my love for the looter genre. You told me back in 2019 that The Division 2 would be receiving support longer than Destiny 2. I would have called you crazy. However, here we are. Since Destiny 2 has gotten its last major content update, the future of the franchise is kind of rocky, somewhat uncertain. Found myself searching for a game that could kind of fill that void. So I looked for some other popular looter shooters to kind of try out, get back into. Found myself at The Division 2. I've played the game on and off since release kind of casually, but I always found myself kind of exploring, doing missions, casually having fun. So if you can't stay to watch the whole video, here's a brief overview of some of the things that I like and dislike. So my likes: the modern, realistic setting. Easy to get into community events, group missions, and activities. Kind of reminds me of an MMO. The open world is super lively, very interesting. The loot and the dopamine rush you get from looting is second to none. Itemization and build crafting is amazing. There's so many things to do in game, so many levels to obtain, so many things to chase. The end game is very vast. And now some of the things I dislike. Graphical degradation on PS5. UI is a bit busy. I think it could be a little bit better. And some of the in-game systems are difficult to navigate, especially if you're like a new player or returning to the game. So many looter games take on a fantasy or sci-fi setting, which are definitely fun and interesting in their own ways. But being able to roam through an invaded, overgrown Washington, D.C., or New York City, Brooklyn, it will never get old for me. Pairing that with some realistic modern military weapons, right? And your high-tech skills, the Division 2 just, it works great. It fits my niche perfectly. And this is one of the things that really keeps me coming back. It's hard to find a military looter game where weapons are accurate and also the loot is satisfying. I find that the Division 2 kind of toes that line perfectly. For me, a factor that really determines the success and longevity of any live service game is the line between community and solo. What do I mean by that? Having content in your game that is aimed to be completed by groups, I think that's a great way to bring people back week after week. However, a lot of games do this really well. I think of Destiny 2, right? And their raid content, or maybe like dungeons, things like that. Destiny 2 does that great, but it kind of leaves solo players out to dry sometimes. While many people do have groups to play with, there are always going to be those players out there that prefer to play solo, or they don't have friends or a group to play with. So they're kind of like cut out from that content. I think the Division 2 tackles this challenge masterfully. You can matchmake with other groups of players for pretty much all content in the game. Story mode missions, in-game excursions, the newly added escalation content. You can load in with randoms, you can matchmake with random people, and you can complete the missions and ultimately get that sweet, sweet loot. I think this is a great way to give the option to players that may not have a group to still be able to complete in-game content. So like I said earlier, there's a lot of content you can do. You can do missions with a group of friends or just by yourself if you like the challenge. But just exploring the world can kind of sweep you away. I found myself exploring through the open world and just like getting into random fights, witnessing factions battling on the streets. They've done a really great job at creating a war-torn world. Just running around for a couple of minutes, you can see hostiles taking over control points, battling over them. Really cool to me. Kind of amazing. If I could give a prize to the devs for loot design, I think I would a million times over. Ultimately, with a looter game like this, your loot's got to be good. Players have to get that dopamine rush and feel satisfied when they're getting the top levels of loot. In my opinion, every tier of in-game loot looks amazing. I love the gear sets. I love the optimized loot. And whenever I'm running a mission and one of these items drop, I really can't help myself but beeline to see what's dropped, what I've got. Another aspect of the loot system that I enjoy is the loot quantity. For me personally, I don't like super huge loot explosions. A game like Borderlands 3, for instance, whenever Borderlands 3 came out, they had massive loot explosions, and it would get tedious to comb through all this loot, especially when I'm trying to get like a specific item, a specific gun. It was just getting like tiresome at a certain point. So the Division 2 I think does this well. You can target farm, you can target loot from certain activities, you can see what loot will drop from certain activities. It's really great for saving time and reducing runs when I'm farming. The itemization in this game, amazing. You've got crafting, tinkering, talent optimization, stat extraction. Once you found a good item, you can really craft it into the perfect piece of loot. And there are definitely super strong builds you can run, but giving players the ability to craft that perfect piece of gear, it allows for the creation of all different kinds of builds that can compete in the in game. And that's definitely something that I value. Obviously, like in any game, you're gonna have a meta, and when there are competitive people playing it, right? You're gonna have a meta, a best build, a best weapon, right? But when you have so much gear, so many different gear sets, you can really create any build you like and find a way to make it compete, right? We've got status effect builds, fire builds, bleed builds, stun builds, heal builds. We have a build for pretty much every weapon in the game. So there's a lot of variety here, and I really value that. When I'm going from mission to mission or just exploring the White House and see other agents that are upwards of level 10,000, tells me that there's so much content that keeps bringing players back. And having that reoccurring player base, it really keeps your floor, your player floor, high. When you can bring people back week after week or just every day to do some form of content, that's a great way to keep your game alive. I'm not sure how prevalent this issue is on other consoles or PC, but I was playing on PS5, and after a couple of hours, my graphics basically turn into Roblox, and I have to restart if I want to fix this issue. It's pretty immersion breaking, and I'm not really sure what would need to be done to fix this issue. Well, heck, it might even be an issue with my PS5. I don't really know, but it's something that I disliked during my time playing. Something else I noticed while playing was the UI, and some other important elements could be a bit difficult to navigate. I think this is more of an issue for newer returning players. I think if you're experienced, some of these things kind of come second nature. Now, I will say, I'm pretty sure it's not easy to make an intuitive, easily accessible UI when there's so many systems present in the game, especially like in-game systems. But like I said, I'm playing on console, probably easier to navigate when you're on PC, but I do kind of wish that I could have like a map option on the menu instead of having map bound to touchpad. I think that like going into my inventory, then having to back all the way out to go to my map, it's a little bit janky. I also think that things like targeted loot and event pass loot could be a little bit easier to find, but it might just be a me issue. My final complaint here, for some reason on PS5, whenever there's new updates, I have to clear enough space to reinstall the whole game. I have no idea why this is, but I hate this. Usually results in me having to delete enough games to free up 100 plus gigabytes of space, regardless of the update size. So as far as my complaints go, I'm not really taking points away from the game here, as I'm sure these are probably exclusive to me or exclusive to the PS5. I'm sure if I was playing on PC, some of these things probably wouldn't be an issue. So if you're looking for a third home, fun looter, or a game to turn to after Destiny 2, I would strongly suggest the Division 2. You've got a good 100, maybe even 1,000 hours if you're really into the game. You'll be entertained for a long time.